afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Devendra. How are you?
I'm great, sir.
Devendra, can you introduce yourself to the panel?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Devendra Lamba. I am from Alwar, Rajasthan. I have completed my graduated from a non-collegiate course in Bachelor's of Arts from Matsya University, Alwar. On a personality front, I am a very patient and calm individual who has a very curious demeanor. I am interested in a lot of things ranging from sports, sports, international relations, cooking, and many more other disciplines.
So, Devendra, you come from state of Rajasthan.
Yes, sir.
Rajasthan is known for its tourism, It attracts a lot of tourists coming from outside the country. Now, suppose tomorrow you are given charge of Director Tourism Rajasthan. What additional or extra steps you will take in making tourism in Rajasthan much more popular than what it is today?
Sir, I feel that the season of summer, from the perspective of tourism in Rajasthan, has a lot of potential and can be developed to a larger extent. Because we are attracting tourists at our forts and national parks in the rainy and winter season, but summer, due to high temperatures, the footfall is quite less in Rajasthan. So summers can be used an opportunity to promote heritage tourism in Rajasthan. We can deploy infrastructure with air conditioned and more local ways of quenching the heat and promote our dances and our culture through different activities so that we can create a heritage walk, especially in the summer vacations, which is a large holiday in the country of India.
Any other thing?
Sir, I think the measures taken by Rajasthan government are already quite holistic. So I don't have much to add with that.
Okay, Devendra, I think you have appeared for Paramilitary Forces Assistant Commandant Examination.
Yes, sir.
Its result has come?
Yes, sir. The result was announced in August.
So, have you been selected for that?
No, sir. I couldn't make the final list.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Devendra, tell me, what is the role of Central Paramilitary Forces?
Sir, Central Paramilitary Forces encompass 5 forces which have a very wide domain ranging from border security, internal security, as well as safeguarding the infrastructure deployed by the central government across the nation. The paramilitary forces also play a very crucial role in maintaining free and fair elections in India, conducting government activity, as well as fighting the forces against the nation active in the country.
Recently, the Border Security Force was given some extra powers, but 2 states in particular. I will
Yes,
like
sir.
you to name those states. They protested. They said what government of India has done was not correct, and it was an interference in the state's power. Can you name the states and what was the issue?
Yes, sir. So the states that objected were Punjab and West Bengal. The objection was labeled against the power to search and conduct operations without notifying the local police up to 50 kilometers from the international border, which states thought was an ingression into their federal powers for maintaining law and order in their territory.
You talked about federalism. Coming to one nation, one poll, where the bill has been presented in Lok Sabha and has been referred to a select committee.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking your opinion whether that bill will impact India's federalism in any manner?
Sir, I think the federalism on a constitutional scale would not be impacted by one nation, one election. State government as well as the central government if the administration is concerned, will continue to act on the same norms and procedures established by the Constitution. However, it might strengthen the federalism because if similar political parties are holding power in state and center, there would be better cooperation. However, the domestic credentials of the act can definitely be questioned.
Ethics is very important because there is a lot of corruption in public life. Suppose tomorrow you are district collector of Alwar.
Yes, sir.
What steps you will initiate to minimize the corruption in Alwar district?
Sir, first thing and first most, as the collector of Alwar, I would keep my conduct as honest as possible. Because as a leader, if I am honest, I can set a very good example for people working under me. So second, I would keep a very strong supervision over subordinate offices, whether they are frequently engaging in bribery or not. The charge sheets, if presented by ACB, will be dealt with utmost authority and strictness, and I will try my best to not get political interference into protecting the corrupt officials who are exposed by ACB.
Any other thing you can think of?
So I think more and more implementation of the automation and the e-governance in this district can be explored. More portals created so that the human angle can be reduced. Comprehensive record for the contractors who are involved in government tendering and blacklisting those who are found to be erring or frequent bribers.
Okay. Our relationship with Canada for last couple of years
Yes, sir.
have taken a nosedive.
Yes,
Today
sir.
we have a very skeleton presence of diplomatic corps in Canada and vice versa. What are the reasons for that?
Sir, in my opinion, the issue that we are having with Canada stems from Justin Trudeau's inability to handle the internal policies, the internal politics of Canada. To appease a certain section of voters, he had made certain choices which are very determinantal to the security of India. Khalistan issue, which is very much in Canada, is a very deep security threat for us. And Trudeau sheltering Khalistanis, Canada sheltering Khalistanis, taking very strong stance against our diplomats is something India cannot negotiate on.
What was the incident which triggered?
Sir, a Khalistani separatist, Nijjar, was murdered in Canada in broad daylight. And Canada accuses India for carrying out that operation without any substantial proof per se.
What was his full name? Nijjar's full name?
Sir, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Okay. Our relationship with Pakistan also have been very, very cold for a number of years now. Do you think, what do you think? What steps we should take in making, putting the relationship back on rails with Pakistan? What should government of India be doing?
Yes, sir. Sir, India in past too, especially in the era between 2008 to 2014, has made immense bilateral effort to improve the relations. But Pakistan's government's inability to control the terrorist groups and the Pakistani army active in Pakistan, it seems now that any change in the relation, the status quo is possible. However, we can improve our indirect relationships. SARC is a platform where the both of the countries can uh, engage in a multilateral discussion. So SARC could be revived. SCO, where China and Russia both are involved, provides a very good platform where Pakistan and India can make headwards toward improving ties. If we are successful in amending our multilateral relations, if we can cooperate in multilateral groupings, we can try to improve our bilateral issues. Given that Pakistan have a strong policy for terrorism and controlling the policy interference by their army.
Okay. Thank you, Devendra.
Thank you, sir.
Over to Mr. Gitesh.
Very good afternoon to you, Devendra.
Good afternoon, sir.
You are interested in sports, as you mentioned.
Yes, sir.
So, what do you think about the Olympics planned to be hosted in India? Is it worth it? I believe that we have initiated the process for being considered as host for the Olympics in 2036, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yes, sir.
is it not an expensive exercise? We are also not such good sportsmen in terms of achievement or getting gold medals. So, what is the whole point of hosting the Olympics?
So first and foremost, I think a buffer of 12 years is enough for India to improve as a sporting powerhouse. We are improving as a country in different sports. We have recently won our first medals in track and field. So I think from a sporting perspective, India may be ready by 2036. Apart from that, sir, hosting Olympics is not only a matter of sporting excellence, but a great visibility. We can showcase our country, our development, our tourism, our cities through hosting Olympics through these stadiums. So it is a two-pronged process. So India making headways that it is right now 2036. I think, sir, we should be ready for hosting Olympics, and we should maybe host Olympics and showcase to the world the growth that India would have achieved by then.
Even so, it is said that the cost of the Olympics may be as much as 50 billion US dollars, if not more. Is it really worth 50 billion? Perhaps could help improve the infrastructure of our cities, which you have talked about, and other kinds of economic activities are possible in India with such resources. So, and I doubt in 12 years, as you say, that we'll jump to such levels that we'll be in the top 10 in terms of gold medals or even the total number of medals. So do you still believe that it's a good exercise?
So on the expense parameters, the 50 billion that is spent in organizing Olympics, a major chunk of it goes to infrastructure development, developing sporting complex, training ground, roads connecting those training grounds. So that is an expense which is already on charts, just for a different purpose. And regarding, sir, becoming a sporting powerhouse in 12 years, sir, United Kingdoms have done it in the past. With good policies and good government support, sir, this is something which is doable.
Right. Let's discuss another very kind of burning kind of international issue, Ukraine. So, how do you understand this conflict? How did this conflict begin, or what were the issues that made the conflict fairly inevitable?
Sir, in my understanding of the conflict, I think the root cause of the conflict had its roots in the USSR bifurcation which happened in 1990s. The Russian-dominated area in Ukraine was something which should have been dealt more objectively and scientifically at a stage when the borders were drawn. Second, sir, I think Russia being over-aggressive is a result of the West ganging up against Russia, maybe in G7 forums, G20 forums. So Ukraine joining NATO, showing open willingness to join NATO, definitely goes against Russia's interest. So there has been a transgression by both the countries, where diplomacy should have been favored, where things could have been handled with talks. I think both countries overstepped. Russia started the aggression in terms of war, but an ideological aggression, I think, was started by Ukraine when it openly accepted NATO membership, the proposal for NATO membership.
Ukraine accepted the proposal to join NATO or is proposing to join NATO?
Sorry, yes, sir. I made a mistake of words there.
Yeah.
When it showed open interest to join NATO.
You are almost supporting the Russian position. In today's world, breaking up countries is not exactly seen as a nice thing to do, as perhaps in the 19th century or later on. But you're saying that in 1991, when USSR broke up, then the Russian-dominated areas should have gone to Russia. Ukraine should have broken up in 1991. That is what I'm understanding from you. Is that right?
No, sir. What I was advocating for, I was trying to advocate, was more scientific drawing of borders when the bifurcation happened. So the area which is under contention right now could have been dealt with much more scientific vigor initially in 1991. If that would not have happened, maybe Ukraine should have policies which supports its Russian minorities, and Russia as a country should have trusted as a bigger country, as a bigger neighbor, should have resorted to diplomacy instead of open warfare. So I think both are at fault here. One ideological and another in terms of international law.
And what about the West? You're blaming Russia and Ukraine. But what about the West?
Sir, that's exactly the point which I initially tried to raise, was the Russian transgression was due to West using Ukraine as a pawn to instigate conflict in Europe by supporting Ukraine through a proxy war.
They changed the government in 2014. The West intervened to change the government in 2014 and put a anti-Russia government. What else is can be a provocation, bigger provocation? Okay, let's.
Sorry, sorry.
And do you think Prime Minister Modi, he visited Moscow? He's also in Uzbekistan. He said time for wars is over. He's also gone to Ukraine. So should India mediate or try to mediate between? We have lines of communication with Moscow, with Kiev. We are on good terms with the West. So do you think we should offer our mediation services?
Sir, I think Mr. Narendra Modi already presented the proposal to mediate and restart talks between Ukraine and Russia, mediated by China and India, that were already under discussion at a certain point. But those proposals, I think, were not accepted by both the countries.
Are you sure that India has pushed for mediation, or we are ready to help if requested, right?
Sir, Vladimir Putin in an interview claimed that Mr. Narendra Modi have reached out for mediation between Ukraine and Russia, although official statement wasn't launched by the Indian government, but his statements weren't countered by the official government either.
Will the West welcome that? Will the West welcome mediation by India?
Sir, I think how the events in recent past have occurred, I think we should go for a mediation, but I cannot make a recent opinion whether Europe will or America will agree for a mediation or not. I think USA would like to be involved in the mediation process with the recent Trump government.
Right. And last question.
This is something we can wait and watch.
Last question to you. That and what about if other countries want to mediate between India and Pakistan? Since we are seem to be in a position where we can act as mediators, what if others want to mediate in our affairs?
Sir, mediation as a solution for India-Pakistan was accepted in 1948 for the Kashmir issue, which was a certified mediation panel. So India as a country has shown interest in mediation, but the current relationships with Pakistan are such shaped that no country is in a position to mediate the relationship between Pakistan and India. because there is a severe lack of trust, and the issue is much more historical and prolonged than a mere ceasefire, which was the case in Ukraine and Russia.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Kapoor.
Hello, Devendra.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Devendra. As you have mentioned about your hobbies of cooking,
Yes, sir.
what important lesson do you learn from this hobby of cooking?
Sir, if I have to narrow it down to two things, sir, I think first is patience and second is assimilation. Patience is something, sir, which is of utmost importance in cooking. If you rush things, they often turn out bad. And in assimilation, sir, how small parts do not taste good alone, but when mixed and cooked together at appropriate temperature, create cuisines.
Good. You have also mentioned that you were handling the core team in the NGO. What was your role in that NGO?
So actually, it was a group of 7 people. We were the one who commenced the idea of helping ants. So it was our goal. So through helping ants, we were active in the Swachh Bharat mission. We undertook activities for cleaning around the city, parks, drains, and roads. So as core team, it was all about selecting the location, managing the manpower, the volunteers, cooperating with the local police, as well as the Nagar Nigam, who was responsible for the larger cleanliness of the city, and arranging for refreshments for the people volunteering, as well as the finances which goes into managing all those things.
From where the funding used to come?
So it was usually crowd-funded. Mostly the people who volunteered crowd-funded through small donations that whatever they wanted to give. Apart from that, sir, we communicated with the local charitable trusts that are active in Alwar, like Mittal Foundations, SP Yadav Foundations, and they made quite generous donations for the cause.
Were those donations covered under CSR of their company?
No, sir.
Okay.
They were entirely voluntary donations,
Okay.
just on goodwill.
Okay. Who is your role model, Devendra, in your life?
Sir, I am very much impressed by my sister. Sir, most of the things, how I shaped myself, how I shaped my personality, my opinions, has a very profound impact of my elder sister.
That's great. What are the important qualities that leaders should have, and out of those qualities, which qualities do you possess?
Sir, I think first and foremost, a leader should be curious. He should be ready to learn about the people he is trying to lead, as well as the people who will be benefited by the operation that he is leading. Second, sir, I think a leader need to be empathetic to understand that everyone comes from a very different way of life and they have their own challenges and own strengths. And third, I think, sir, a leader need to have patience because in operations which you are leading, mistakes tend to happen, results are not favorable. So a leader need to have the patience to accept the failure and as well as to put in the work that is needed to accomplish that. And the qualities that I have from this are, sir, I am a very curious individual. I am not very much phased by chaos. That is, I'm very calm. Sir, I'm very patient. I trust the process. And sir, I believe that I can have a very strong understanding of the struggles that people face through the people belonging from different walks of life.
What is strategic leadership in any organization? Strategic leadership in any organization.
Sir, if is this administrative terminology?
Yes.
Because, sir, I'm not aware about it.
I just want to know, about the alternative dispute resolution mechanism in India. How far they are effective in India? What is your view?
Sir, on the corporate front, recently alternate dispute resolution mechanisms have got quite a good success, especially in addressing the NPA crisis. Apart from that, sir, mediation has been very active in India in family courts, as well as issues arising from the Hindu Marriage Act, as well as disputes regarding property. But the entire issue that remains is, sir, the right to appeal in higher courts is something which has plagued mediation too. Parties often do not accept the rulings of the mediator, and it has done very little in terms of reducing the burden on higher judiciary. So I think, sir, more comprehensive institutional measures to strengthen mediation, maybe better workshops, better trained mediator can help with that.
As you have just mentioned, it, there are various pending cases in judiciary for so long period of time.
Yes, sir.
But it is not like it is the situation not in the USA. Why in India cases are pending for so longer period but not in the USA? What we can learn from them? What are the important reasons behind this?
Sir, I'm not entirely sure about the direct reason for low pendency in USA. But what I know about the US judicial system, sir, one thing that may help is the minimal amount of government judicial cases that are pending in USA. So most of the cases in India either have government as the appellant or the defendant in India. So maybe if we can address or create separate courts for government related issues, constitutional issues and criminal issues like USA have, maybe we can reduce the backlog.
Like India has made tribunals, and
Yes,
tribunals
sir.
basically used to handle specific disputes, which were early used to be taken over by the traditional courts.
Yes, sir.
Don't you think this is the role of judiciary, which is basically taken over by the executive by the way of opening tribunals, because their appointments are also being done by the executive only?
Sir, this was the opinion of Supreme Court, but sir, in my humble opinion, there is a process of checks and balances in Constitution. So, if a creation of tribunal by devolving certain judicial power to the executives helps us address the massive backlog, I think, sir, this is a constitutional innovation that should be promoted rather than curtailed.
Good. How administration can reduce the burden of judiciary?
Sir, administrative disputes right now in India are directed to the judiciary for which suffers from its own problem like lack of technical expertise, long waiting times, frequent adjournments. So, if administration can handle its own dispute on a more personal level, sir, I think that could curtail something from the backlogs that is mounting up on our judiciary.
Nowadays, there is a dispute and there is a rising controversy about the Waqf Board bill, amendment bill. What is
Yes,
the
sir.
major important point of criticism in that? Why people are opposing it, especially from one particular community?
Sir, the issue with Waqf Board bill is that it gives overriding powers to the Waqf Board, which are recently marred with corruption. The elections are not frequent. There's a frequent encroachment on Waqf properties. The process through which properties are marked Waqf or WS, many cases are pending in the judiciary. But us, the minority community which has issue with the board is more pertaining to the judicial position of Waqf. So Waqf is something which has been managed by the community through its leader from very early stages, from the very monarchical, when the rule was monarchical in India. So these type of legislations which strive to streamline things that definitely they are met with opposition, but a reasoned and more objective solution needs to be found because every reform cannot be accepted, or every reform cannot be people pleasing?
In India, after 10 years, we used to have our census. But
Yes.
in 2021, there was no census. Apart from COVID reason, what other important factors were there for not conducting this census?
Sir, I'm not aware about the exact causes, but I can make a reasoned guess.
Sure. What do
Uh,
you think you can tell?
Sir, I think census is an activity which required immense financial as well as manpower deployment. And country right now emerging from COVID-19 is facing a massive slowdown, which delayed the commencement of census, which was again then met by the Lok Sabha elections. So this has created a condition where conditions could not be created so that the census can be conducted. But now I think,
Suppose,
sir, with the government settled in, maybe a census is in books in coming few days.
what will be the problems that will come because due to non-conducting of this census in India?
Sir, initially, when the census were commenced, they were the only decadal exercise to collect data regarding very things like population, density, sex ratios, mortality rates, with the National Family Health Survey as well as very expensive A&M networks. So data these days is collected on very frequent intervals. So definitely a decadal census will create a very larger picture of the demographic dividend that we have. But the thing is that we are not entirely unaware of the data realities, the statistical realities of the country as of 2025, as we were in 2011 when the census was conducted.
Will it also going to impact the delimitation exercise, which will going to be happen in 2026?
Sir, right now delimitations are subjected to a census of 1971. It has been sealed there. So new census, I think, will not affect the delimitation exercise until a law is passed by the parliament for the same effect.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Devendra. Can you just step outside for 2 minutes? We'll call you back for the feedback. Devendra, you are using somebody else's laptop, I suppose. So it's read Vishal Yadav.
So actually, I'm using my phone, but the Zoom that I installed today, I set it up for my mother during COVID-19, and this is the second instance I'm using it after that. So
Okay.
it might have happened due to that.
No. Devendra, you are a good candidate. And when is your interview?
The 7th of January.
7th of January. There is hardly any time. So our advice would be one, in your photograph, you don't have beard, but here I find that you have grown beard.
Yes,
So,
sir, I'll get a clean shave.
you get a clean shave and better you go your normal self. Now, within 7 days left, our advice would be that you read your current affairs very, very carefully. In 7 days, whatever incidents will happen, there are bound to be questions on that. Learn something about Rajasthan economic development. What are the problems which Rajasthan is facing as compared to other states in India? And our neighbors, especially our relationship with Bangladesh, our relationship with big powers, both USA, Russia, and China, the difficulties which we are facing, the positive things which are there. With China, our relations have started on a,
Yes, sir.
some kind of negotiations are going on maybe positive signs are visible. How far it will go, one doesn't know. But all those things you read, and you should be able to know. And wherever you don't know something, rather than guessing, I think the best thing is to say that I don't know, sorry, I have not read this. Because when you try to answer something which you don't know by making a guess or your shallow knowledge, then there are times when you can get into trouble. So avoid that. That will take you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Devendra.
Thank you, sir.